Okay, welcome friends. This is the second part two, maybe 5 seconds in between of part one. But we're going to continue building out our project, continue building out this portion. During our first hour, we built this entire create book section. It was pretty heavy in what we were doing, checking stuff. I had some errors. And so we were able to finish that. Now all we have to do is we have to be able to get all books, get one book, and then be able to edit a book, which that's what we're going to do within the next hour. What I wanted to do a little quickly is I wanted to basically just show kind of what the exam is like and what you should expect from that. And then we'll get back into coding. Oh, yeah. So Friday, sorry, I always thought this was a date and that's incorrect, but that's not it. So Friday, what I'll do is I'm going to walk through, that's tomorrow, is I will refresh my kind of pages or my page that has all of your assignments. And then if everything is good to go, if you have 11 out of 15 core assignments, then I will send you an exam code. If you have 10 assignments, I am not going to send you an exam code. It has to be 11 out of 15. Now, I would encourage and almost really say to not start the exam until you've done product manager 1, 2, and 3, because that's going to make sure that you know everything. Though you can technically get the exam at 11 out of 15 assignments, I'd really encourage you to not start it until you've done product manager 1, 2, and 3. Just as a reminder, you get up to 3 attempts on the exam. I say up to because your code that you'll get tomorrow is going to be good to go, or it's going to be good until 12/20. So which is that when, or till, sorry, 12/19. And you have until 12/20, which is Wednesday of week 8, to get a passing exam in. So your code's going to be there. It's going to be good to go until till 11:59 p.m. of 12/20. Once you start it, even if you do, or sorry, 12/19, even if you start at 11:59 p.m. on the 19th, you still have 24 hours, right? So you can still have 24 hours to turn this in on Wednesday. And you do get 24 hours from opening the exam. So don't just open it, get a peek and say, oh, I'll do that later. I'd really encourage you to make sure you have enough time scheduled to, okay, I'm gonna sit and at least get a big chunk of this done, especially if you're going for a black or red belt. It has to be done within 5 hours. The difference between those, same criteria, except black belt has some advanced features. And again, same thing within 5 hours, but you do not have to deploy here at MERN or the JavaScript stack, and you don't have to do a login and registration. So those are the 2 big things you do not have to do. And the reason I say up to 3 attempts is if you wait until the 19th to start your first attempt, that is all you're going to get. So if you come on the 20th and you're like, I'll have 2 more, you have up to 3 that you can utilize. But if you don't use them, kind of like a gift card, if you don't use it by the time the date, it's gone. You can't go get the money back, even if there's money on it, which I think is a hoax, but whatever. You're going to be asked to create a full stack MERN project based on the wireframe provided. So it's going to be something like product manager or like books. So what we just did in class, it's going to be something that looks like this, where you're going to have a couple pages. It's going to have, and it should look a lot like this because this is what we use to build him, this balsamic. And it's going to tell you what to do. There will also be more of these little sticky notes that's like, okay, once this does that, it should be redirected or whatever. And then you'll also have some pages, or not pages, but you'll have some paragraphs that kind of define what your model should have, what your validation should be set at. So it'll lay out what the code should look like, what you should do. So if you've taken any other full stack languages, you're likely familiar with this. If this is your first full stack language exam, this is similar to what it's going to look like, but you'll have a little bit more explanation. If you have any questions on it on the exam, or maybe you're not clear with the validations portion, you can ask myself or TAs a clarifying question in regards of like, hey, I'm not understanding what you're asking me to do. That's okay. If you're saying, but if you ask, I'm not understanding how to do what you're asking me to do, you can't ask that to me, a TA, or anybody in class. So just as a reminder, there's no posting anything in Discord about the exam, and don't try to like post about an assignment of like a similar issue, because what TAs will look at is we have a whole thing that if you have an exam open, so if you put in that 24 hours or you put in your exam code and you have that open, TAs will not help you. Again, they'll help you if you're like, hey, I'm not quite understanding, what you're asking me to do here. Okay, great. And TAs are great at just kind of towing the line of like, nope, I can't tell you that, but maybe look at this or something like that. But they can't help you. Students can't help you. Cannot work together. It is open universe. You cannot use like AI to write it. Typically I can tell if you are, because you might do something really advanced that we've not talked about in class. And with that, you have to use the technologies we have in class. So if you were to, like I had a student one time, do it in like TypeScript, which is great. That's awesome that they know TypeScript, but that's not at all what the exam is on. So they had to retake the exam. And so make sure you are using the technologies and the tools that we have provided in this course. And then just as a reminder, do not upload to GitHub. You cannot upload to GitHub. There's no deployment, so you don't have to worry about that. And then this is the biggest thing, is you have to make sure that you delete your node modules folders from both your client and your server. What's going to happen if you don't, you're going to go try to put the exam on the platform and it's not going to work, and you're going to panic and say, oh my gosh, it's not working, blah, blah, blah. But the file is going to be too big. Also, it is a huge pain for me. I'm asking you as a friend. It's a huge pain because it's a massive package I have to download. I have to download everything, all the exams. I run them on my computer, make sure everything works fine. And it's a huge, huge issue. So please make sure you delete your node modules, and both. We'll go over that at the end of class today, just in case anybody forgot how to do that. And then if it says video demo, you don't have to do that. It's never needed. So please, please, please ignore that. Are there any questions about the exam, about what to expect, anything that you guys can do?
I don't have a question about the exam, but preparation for the exam.
Yeah.
So I see that you have you highly recommend doing the product manager assignments. What if in theory someone were to skip the product manager and go straight to authors instead? How'd you feel about that?
If you can do authors, you should be okay. I think the thing that I would say is you have to do, I think 14 out of 15 core assignments to even pass anyway. You have to have 90% of core assignments. So that's one of the three criteria: discussion questions, core assignments, and a passing exam. And so I would say you're going to have to do them anyway. So I'd encourage you to do that. That is my encouragement, though. You are an adult. So if you were like, hey, I feel good. If you have 11 out of 15, I've done authors, I'll go back and do product manager later. I just want to get this exam out of the way. That is your choice. You are entitled to make that. You get 3 chances anyway. So if this week, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that if this weekend works the best thing for you, and you can pepper in product manager 1, 2, and 3 later, but you feel confident and this is kind of the most optimal time for you, feel free. It's just my encouragement, but you do have 3 exam chances too. So does that answer your question, Joseph?
Yes. Completely forgot about the logic of completing the assignments for the course. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah. Any other questions on this? Okie doke. Great. Well, then let's do some other stuff. Okay. Just for anybody that just joined, here's what we've done so far. We have created this component of create book. We'll walk through the code real quickly, and then we'll just keep going. All we did was we created this component. We imported Axios. We did state in just one object because that's how I like to do it. Again, if you want to break it down individually, you're a-okay there. You're just going to have to pass it in as an object anyway. We have this errors, and we kind of talked about this in class. We'll get to here. Things that we've seen before. We have a change handler. spreads out all of our previous values, gets our target name. Just as a reminder, name matches name here. So please make sure that those are the same. And so then what we're doing, and then it just takes the value. Again, stuff we've done a million times. We've got the submit handler. We have ePrevent default, which keeps track of our data. And then now this is something kind of newish. We've done Axios post request before, but now we're doing it to our own server. So we have to have two terminals open. One of them is our server terminal, and the other one is our client terminal. You could do this, you could do one in VS Code, one in your terminal. I like to do two separate terminals themselves, especially with Stage Manager. It's just as easy to, if I need to look at them, they're big and they can pop up. But we have to have both running. So in order for this project to operate and work, both of them have to be running. But we made our Axios post request. We passed it book, our book object. We console logged. This was a testing thing because we had a little bit of an issue. But once we do that, we pass it the information. It will create a book in our database. We've checked, made sure that this works. And then what this is doing is if we wanted to stay on the same page and it just, clear out our form, then what we could do is we could just set book to my different values. And then within my input, if we're going to do that, within my input, we need to have a value, and then we set it to whatever that is. So book.pages or whatever, or book.author. So what that does is if I create a book, and let's say I wanted to stay here and create another book, I can just press create book. It'll go send that request. Once it's done, if everything's good to go, it's going to clear this out. And then we can create another book if we wanted. Now, here's something that's new. And we'll talk about kind of how this works is we created this other state called set errors or errors, sorry, and set errors. And it's just an object, right? So when we get a response back from Mongoose, we get it either goes in our .then or our .catch, but either way we get a response, right? And here we're calling it an error. We're saying if we're getting this response, let's refer to it as ERR. And it's this object. And then within that, if we go deep enough in, we see that we would get this response.data.errors. This is an object that has keys of each error that we have. So if we look at our model real quickly, we have these. It'll give me a key of pages, and then it'll give me the error. It'll give me a key of publish year, and it'll give me the error. And that becomes important because now we can visualize the errors that our backend is giving us. These are custom. These are, in theory, our custom Mongoose validations. And now we can do that. We're saying, hey, we got this response. Or if we get in our catch, then I want to set errors to this object, right? And that is going to be an object with a key of title, of value, or of author, of pages, et cetera, et cetera. We can take those values then and run a ternary operator and say, hey, if errors.title, meaning there's a key within my title or within my errors object that's called title, then I want to make it red, and then I want to actually show the message itself. And I can do that with all of them here. And that way, if I were to create book, I can get these errors here where everything is required. Now, one thing within the office hours / class that we discovered was that there was an issue because when we were sending this response over from our backend, from our controller, it was still going in my .then, even though there was an issue. So one fix, and what we can do is we can assign a status code to my response. And so what we said was, all right, there's a response here. I want to give a res status 500. So this is telling it, hey, here's this status code. We've seen status codes. We've talked about them. 200 is okay. We're good to go. 404 can't be found. 400 is bad for quest. We're saying, okay, we want to send this status code of 500. And then we also want to give the error. And what this did right here by doing this .status 500 is it assured that when we got our response back, it went into our catch. If I didn't have that, if I just said response JSON, for some reason, it was being caught in our .then. But when we added the status code, it was able to go into our catch, which then set our errors. It didn't save anything in our database, but then now I can visualize and see all of the errors here. What we also talked about was what if we had front end validations? This might be one of the advanced topics on the exam. And so we just created this. We walked through it. You can watch the recording, and then I'll keep it here so that we'll have the code. And if you want to play with it, because I think you'll have to play with it in order for the errors to show up. But this is a way that we could also have front end validations. But because it's an advanced topic, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Cool. Any questions on this so far? And if not, we'll just jump in and keep going. Okay. Great. So what I want to do now is let's go to my display all books. I want to show all of my books. And so there's a couple things that I can do. First and foremost, I guess I don't know why I deleted that. We can just have this. I don't want this to be, yeah, I guess we'll just do that. That's fine. I'm gonna have I guess a table maybe. I guess that, yeah, we could do like maybe a table. So let's go to forms. See if we can type in table. Okay, so we have class table, T head, TR, T body. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm using Bootstrap to build this out. So I'm going to say table, dot table, because I'm giving it a class name of table. And if I'm just looking at all of this, here we go. Perfect. We love ChatGPT and Copilot. Okay. Cool. So what this is doing is I'm creating a table, class name of table, that has a table header, and it's got a row of title, author, pages, publisher, genre, actions. And then that's that row, right? And so then I have my T body. So this is the body of it. And what I'm doing is what I'm going to eventually do is I am going to bring in or have my books, right? And then I'm going to map through them where I have my book and then my index. And then what I can do is say book.title.author.pages.publisher.genre. And so that it'll show that I can do that. And then eventually I'm going to have well, maybe I don't want my edit and delete here, right? Because that's not where I wanted it. I just want to have view book. So we'll get rid of this. We'll keep it, and then we'll kind of show what it looks like. But you might be asking, well, where is this book coming from? This book coming from, right? This is how we're going to visualize all of them, but I need to go and I need to get them from that. Does anybody remember what we could do for going and retrieving information? That there was a hook that we could call immediately, and then once this component is mounted, it'll go and it'll run some code. Yeah, exactly, Brittany. And phone. Yeah, everybody, it's use effect, right? And so what I need to do is I need to do a couple things. I need to bring that in. So I know that I'm going to want to keep track of this information. So I'm absolutely going to use state, right? Because even when I bring in all books, I want to grab that information. And I need use effect. Perfect. Now I'm going to be making a call to the database. And so what that tells me is I need to import Axios from Axios. And then, nope, I'm good right now. I don't need anything else. Cool. I don't need that from reach router because we're not even using that. So what I can do is I can say const set books. And so what that is that is going to be my, for right now, that's going to be my state here. Now I might pass this up, but for right now, this is okay. And this is just going to be an array of my objects, of my book objects, right? Cool. Now, this is where use effects is going to come in, where I have my state, I have my array of objects that I'm going to bring in, but now I need to go make my call. And then if it responds with all my books, I'm just going to put that into my object, right? So I'm going to use my axios.post API. There we go. Axios.get, sorry, it's a post.get because I'm just retrieving. I'm calling localhost 8000 API/books. And again, knowing that, okay, API/books, that's going to get me all my books. That's perfect because it's a GET request, not a post. And so what that does is, let's get rid of that and come here. Now, once I get that response, I say res.data, it's going to give me all of my objects. I'm going to put that in my array. And now I have access to all of my information. I'm not going to set anything in here because I don't want anything really to get updated. But now when I say books and I come here and I say book or books.map, this book is just what I'm referring to it as. This could be unicorn if I wanted. But this books right here is the most important, right? Because it's coming from right here. Coming from right here. Cool. So now I've got this component. I've got all the things that I need from it. Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, actually, it should be, Brittany. Great call out. Right here, instead of let's say book dot, and then remember it's underscore ID. Every time we have, because we're dealing with Mongo, it's underscore ID. So please don't forget that. But yeah, that's a great call out. Is your key here is no longer it's not the index position. It is underscore ID. Cool. So now let's go ahead and bring that in. When do we want to do that? Let's come here. And maybe this display all books. That's just our default thing. So if I first am going to go make sure I've made some changes. So let's go to my terminal, make sure, yep, this is working. This is running. So I can come here. Let's just get rid of this. Let's go home. Cool. And so now you can see that I've got my display all books. This is my home page. I've got my title, my author, my pages, my publish year, and the genre. Now, you can see that these are different. You could do some like data cleaning if you wanted. You don't need to for this exam, but this is looking fairly nice. Maybe I didn't want to do it in a table if it's supposed to look like this. It's okay for right now. You could have just done a div and then put it in like a card or something. It doesn't matter for what we're trying to do. It doesn't really matter. I would encourage you though, if it's going to look like this in on the exam, try to do it this way. I don't know why I just thought of a table, but I don't want to waste too much time because we only have 29 minutes left. Cool. So right now it's got these actions of edit and delete, right? These don't really work yet, but they will. And then create book. Let's go ahead and actually change those real fast. I'm going to go into my nav JSX 2. And then when I am dealing with this, let's see how I can do this. Not really how I can do this, but link, I just want to say that, and this should say books./create. Let's go check my route, make sure that that's right. Book/create. So if I come here, should take me there, and it takes me there. Cool. So now I have a working nav bar here, which is great. Okay, now let's go with this display all books. If we're looking at this, instead of having edit and delete, that is on this page, on the actual books page itself. Let's go ahead and create this link right here. And so what we're going to do is go to my code, and I'm just going to have a button. I don't want to have a button. I'm going to have, let's see, actually, can I put no, I'm going to do a link. And so I need to bring in link, right, from React Router DOM. And then if we're looking at our nav, we have our 2, and then where's it going to go? And so what I want to do is I want to say equals 2, and then we're going to go to here /books/ we haven't made this yet, but I'm going to say need our backtick because I'm injecting that. Ooh. I don't think we do actually. No, we definitely do. Why is this not going up?
Well, I think you can throw an opening bracket before, yeah, right there, and then a closing bracket right after your backtick.
Hmm. Thank you, my friend.
Yep.
Cool. And then we'll say view book. Perfect. So if I come here, well, that broke it. Let's see. All right, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to say, saying the same thing. I'm going to do a button. BTN BTN info. And I'm going to say on click. And I'll say view book. I'll say click handler. And then we'll just come up here. Say const click handler. And then what I want to do is I want to bring in navigate. Use navigate, sorry. I'll bring it up here. I'll say const navigate equals use navigate. And then all I'll do is I will navigate to books. e.target.value. No. Oh, yeah, I could do that. My value is going to equal book underscore ID. Yeah. Okay. So now if I click this, cool. So nothing happens yet. We'll walk through what I just did here in a second. I know I just quickly built that. But you could see that it navigated to 5173 books and then the book value, right? My local host and then the book ID, sorry. So what I just did was instead of having a edit and delete, we didn't want to have that. But what I wanted to do was I wanted just to have a link. For some reason, it looked like it was automatically clicking it or something of the nature. And so what I did was used what we've already learned, right? Where we can have a button and then we can have a click handler. And so we know, okay, great. We've done this before. We've handled on clicks. And all I said was, great, whenever this button is clicked, I want you to navigate to books / whatever that e.target.value is. And so what the e.target.value is the book's ID. So I put that within my button as well. So it's going to say, okay, what target clicked this? It was this button. And then within that has a .value, which is the book's ID. And so now it's navigating me to books / target value or book / whatever that book's ID is. And then I just created a info and added in a class here. Any questions on what I just did on this whole kind of table display books? Just put a 1 in the chat if this is making sense. Obviously, you'll have access to all this code and these recordings. Cool. Okay, so let's actually go build that. Let's go build my one book. So we have that. That's good to go. Book form, we don't need to worry about it. My nav is also done. So let's go to route, and then we're going to say books / ID. And we know that that's going to be some sort of information, right? We want to be able to grab that information or be able to grab that ID, which is what we need for that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our one book. Cool. And there's a couple of things we're going to use. We're definitely going to be using state because I want to populate that information. So I'm going to say use state. I want to have access to it so that way I can show it. I also need to, I'm going to make a request to the database with that ID, right? So I don't think I'll need link, but I'm going to say import Axios from Axios. Cool. I'm going to need, because I'm grabbing something from my parameter, because I'm going to grab that ID, I'm going to need this use params. And then I want something to run, right? I want my Axios to run immediately. And so what I could also do is say use effect up here, because I'm going to use use effect to go grab that data immediately. Cool. Cool. So now, first and foremost, what I need to do is I need to say const ID equals use params. I'm going to grab that information. Remember, it's taking out this key, so we got to make sure that these match. ID. Cool. And then it's creating that information for me. So now that I have that, I can say const book equals set book, because I know that I'm going to go grab some information from my database. I'm going to use effect to do that. And then once I have that information, I just want to have some state. I want to hold on to it. And so I'm going to use it. I'm going to create my state to do that. This is going to allow me to do that. Cool. Now what I can do is I can say use effect, and I want to Axios get /API /books /ID. And because I am calling in or using, because I am using a variable within my request, I have to make sure that I have this backtick here. I have to make sure I have this backtick. If you just did a normal one, it's not going to work. This allows us to inject this variable within my request. Then if we get a response, it says console log. We don't need to, but we want to set our book as the response.data. And so everything works. Everything's good. Cool. We have our book. And then if not, then we have an error here. And so remember, this is being ran as soon as this is mounted, as soon as it's put onto the DOM, this is being ran, and then we will be good to go. Cool. And so what I want to do is I just want to kind of follow this, where I'm going to maybe have just an H1 here. Maybe I'll do class name is call medium 6, and then I'm going to say offset 3. Perfect. Now I'm going to say H1. Now this H1 is going to say title. And what's nice is I can just say something like book title. Book title. Now under this, because I wanted the title to be larger, and then these could maybe be like in their own p tag. Yeah, well, yeah, we'll just do p tags. So say p tag is going to be author. And we'll see if this says book.author. And then we said pages. What else do we have? Total pages, publish year, and genre. Perfect. Cool. So now if I were to have this, everything should be good to go. Make sure both of my terminals are running. They are. So now if I come here, I should be able to, whoa, took me to the wrong spot. Took me to books ID. Then the component that came up was create a book. So let's go check this out. Oh, it's because I did book form right here. So I need display one book. That's why. It's like, what is going on? Sorry about that. We just have this information here. Cool. So now you can see that it automatically kind of comes up. I have the title, which I don't need that as an H1. I just want that to be, I don't need that like this. Just want that to be the title. And then now we have all of our information for Bookly. Spin that out a little bit. Perfect. Okay. So now we are showing one book. Are there any questions about what we've done here, showing one book? We're almost there. All we have to do is do our edit book, and then we're done. Well, and deleting the book, but same. Any questions on this? Does this make sense? Cool. The other two things I need to add here are my edit book and my delete book. And so what I'm going to do, because I'm lazy, is I'm just going to go grab this. And then let's do this. I'm going to call this edit handler. And I'm going to call this delete handler. Cool. Values book ID. I'm going to say edit book. And then I'm going to say delete book. Perfect. So these are going to do two different things, right? I'm going to go up and I'm going to build these out. So I make const edit handler, and really what it's not going to do is target is what I want to do is I want to I'm going to bring in use navigate. Perfect. Let me say, let's navigate is use navigate. Cool. All I want this to do is I want this to in the same way, and I can even actually just copy this code up here. Navigate to this. But I might add in one more thing. Book slash edit slash the value, which is still going to be the book ID. So I'm just creating a new route of books, books slash edit, and then the target value. Again, this is the button that clicks it. So therefore, that's what we're doing. And then for my delete handler, I actually don't need to do anything else. I don't need to reroute or navigate. What I can actually do is just call axios.delete on this HTTP localhost API slash books slash ID. And if I were to go to my routes page, it's API slash books slash ID. So it's going to send my book, or it's going to send a request to delete the book by the ID. So it's going to have that ID, and then it's going to navigate to back home. It's going to navigate to my all of my big, my table of books. If there's an error, then there's going to be an error. But this now allows me to delete something, or else I can navigate to something different. So let's go test that, actually. I haven't done a very good job at, let's change this. Let me change this to danger. And then let's see if margin right's even a thing. It's not. That's fine, doesn't matter. Okay. So if I were to go here to edit book, I'm navigated to books, edit, that's fine, home. Let's go create a book that I can test, or that I can test my deletion, test, 400, 1900, test. So let's create my book. Great, if I go home, we have this new book here. I can go to my view book, and then I can delete my book, and we can see that it is now no longer here. I know I'm going super fast, guys. I know there's just a lot to go through, so wanted to make sure that we can get all through it. We'll probably go a little bit over. Okay. Any questions on viewing one book and the edit and delete? We haven't built the edit portion yet, but any questions on this? Nope. Cool. Let's go ahead and build out the edit portion. We need to edit our book. So let's actually create a new component called edit book.jsx. Perfect, REFCE. And we've already set up most things. We've already set up the navigate, so I just need to set up the route for this. But I'm going to need to use a couple things. So I'm going to say use state, use effect. This little L. Because I know that I'm going to need to call and grab that book's information, and then I can, because I'll need to know the ID. And so I'm going to need to import Axios from Axios and use params and use navigate. Yeah, great job. Because I'm going to need to grab that ID from the actual request itself, and then I can, grab it or get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to destructure my ID. So I'm going to say const ID, let's use params. Yeah, let's go ahead and call use navigate, because once it's edited, we might want to, go back to our main page. And so what I'll do is I'm going to say const book was use state. And so I'm creating just an empty object. Now you could put all of the information, your title, your author, your pages, all that in there. It's not necessary, but you totally could do that. And then maybe we want to handle some errors as well, if there are some errors. And so really all we're doing is we're taking the same thing, the same form, and we're just changing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab this information all the way from my div to my div. And I think I grabbed the div. Going to do this because it's doing the same thing, right? We can change the handler, but maybe we could say edit book. Edit book. Cool. But it's still doing the same thing. We still have a title. We still have all the information we need. So we need to do a couple different things. Before we can edit the book, we need to go ahead and grab it from our database so we have access and know what ID and all that information is. So I'm going to use my use effect. I have my ID. I have my information that I can do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this one book. And I need my little, there we go. I'm going to grab the book and I'm going to say set book as res.data. So this is going to go to my, if I go to my routes, it's going to get one book, grab this information, and then I'm setting my state. So I have access to it. I have access to it. Cool. Then what I need to do is I need to handle my submission. So I need to be able to handle what is happening. I do need to have an on change for what they type. So actually this is correct. Let's just do my on change. Oops. Change handler, it's an event. We're going to destructure just like we always have. That doesn't change, except this is a const. Cool. We have our change handler. Takes an event. Our book is an object. So we destructure, grab it by the name, grab the value. That's what we've done on the other one too. And then now all I have to do is handle submit. So we're still submitting a form. So I still need to do that. I still need to prevent default. But what we're going to do is say Axios.put. We're calling this, again, make sure we have the backticks because we have ID in here. We want to grab that ID from our params. And I want to inject that into this string. So I need to have these backticks here. And then the information I'm giving it, the data I'm passing it is my book, right? And that was already ran on this use effect here, right? And we set book with our res.data. We have this set book here, but when we are changing it, when we have our change handler, we're going into our book and we are changing it. So initially at the beginning, it grabs all my information. And then as we change it, we are changing that information. Cool. Then what it's doing is it's saying, hey, if there's errors, res.data.errors, and this is what comes back. And this is what, if you go back to our form, this is what we're handling, res.data.errors, saying, hey, there's an error. Then I want to set errors and show those. Else, meaning, nope, everything's good. We edited our book. We can either go to books/ID, which will be that singular books page, or we can go back to the main page and just do a slash. So let's see what this says. This says, once a book is edited, it should redirect back to the home page. So instead of books/ID, let's just say this. I don't need these. I can just. Perfect. Saying, cool. If this is edited, let's go change it back. Else, let's console log the errors. Now, one thing I might preemptively do, because we had an issue with our controller, and if there was an issue with our create book, we had to have this res.status. So I'm actually just going to do that. We'll say 500.json error. Cool. Just to make sure everything is good to go. Okay. So now the last thing we kind of need to do with it is let's go to my app.jsx and I can say I need a path of books/edit/ID. Now it's not going to give me book form. That's going to be edit book. Cool. And then if it has edit book, it goes and grabs the information here. So I check my terminal. Both are running. We're good to go. This, let's go home. I want to change this. I want to capitalize the C here. So I'm going to view book. Let's edit it. It automatically brings in my information. This might be an advanced thing on the exam, if you catch my drift. And the reason that's happening is because in our edit book, when we are initially calling it and we're setting book, it has some sort of values, right? Well, we're showing that right here, this value book.title. So this is a great way. Again, it might be some advanced stuff on the exam, if you catch my drift, for these to be pre-populated. But I just want to do this. We'll create book. You can see that this is edited. Create book is not what we should have called it. We should call it edit book. But we see that it works, right? And then maybe I want to go back and actually edit house and C. It's view book. Let's edit it. House in the cerulean C. Edit book navigates us back. And now my information has been updated. Maybe I want to change that back to, let's just change this to fantasy. Edit book. We can change the alchemist. Edit book to fantasy. Cool. So now all of our data looks good. And we have officially created our CRUD application. We are displaying all. We can display one. We can navigate back. We can create a new book. And we can delete books by clicking this delete book. Okay. One thing we can test, and I would encourage you to test, is let's see what happens here. Say edit book. Nothing happens. So let's go see what's going on. Let's go to my console. Axios error. Error request. Cool. So we have our Axios error, but let's go handle, how do we want to handle that? Set errors. res.data.errors. So let's go see if we have any sort of state in this edit book. No, we don't. What's good is it prevented our data from being edited. But what's nice is we already have a working form. So let's just go see, what did we do differently? We said error.response.data.errors. So let's go try that. Just gonna grab this, go to my edit book. Still nothing showing up. The good news is you can't edit it. Like it's not edited. So if I were to go home, it's not changed. So that's good. It's prevention. But I just want this to show up. So what I would first do is I would console log and just make sure that I'm in error message. Save that. Let's just go try to view book, edit book. Edit book. Request failed. Internal server. Oh. Duh. Because it's going here, right? It's going into my catch because we did that. And so we could just say this. Because it's not going into my then because it's being caught. So it's never going to. Johnny, yeah, you had it 2 minutes ago. I wasn't even looking at chat. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's never going to go in here because it's catching it. So if I do this and I edit book, I go to components, I go to edit book. I now get some, and now we get title is required. Perfect. So same sort of thing is happening. I can, this will be part of the exam and I do test, I'll do this, make sure that, nope, I can't update this. I can't update this. It has to have those same validations. And that's where that valid return, run validation is true. That's where this is coming from. So we're good. We have officially created a full working CRUD application. We're only 4 minutes over that has validations, prevents that from happening, but we can create books, can view them. So we're viewing one book. We can delete a book. We could edit a book. Maybe say it's 4,000, edit, and now that is immediately shown. All right. What questions do we have? I understand I sort of flew through that. So, but we're 5 minutes over and we're good to go. So we've done all the code and you guys will have access to all this. What are we thinking? What are we feeling? Clapping hands. Is there anything that I can clarify? Anything before we go into the exam? Anything I can clarify? Anything I can work out for you? Anything that you guys are needing help with, or this isn't making sense? So Johnny asks, great question. Reusability of the components, is that something we should be looking to do? In the future, maybe, like if you wanted like nav, you could do that. If you wanted to create, let's say we wanted to have maybe both my form and my display all books on the same page, then maybe we could do something like a view. So for anybody, we haven't really talked about views. It's on the platform, but it's not something you really have to do right now. But a view is just really if you want to have two components together. So I want display all books in my book form. You can create what we call a view, and then just kind of show those. So you can do that. The only thing that I would say that we didn't do, because we didn't really need to, but maybe you could clean up in your code, is there any sort of lifted state? And I believe the exam is maybe looking for some of that. So if you find yourself, if you were to have multiple components that needed the same state, again, if you were to have maybe display all books and I don't know, book form or something like that, and you wanted to have lifted state, then you could lift the state there. But we didn't really apply for what we were doing. We didn't have kind of two things that needed the same state because they're all individual components. But if we did, then you might want to look at lifting state within your exam. So just make sure you have a reminder of what that looks like. And just what it looks like is you have some state up here and then you're passing it down as a prop. So we're not really doing that right now. But that's something I believe you're going to have to lift state. So it just wasn't really applicable for what we're doing. But we've talked about that before, and we have plenty of stuff on that. Any other questions, friends, about the exam? It's not as bad as you think. I'd encourage you, if you have the ability, take it this weekend. At least test it out, feel it out. If you want to take it and then you open it and you're like, nope, but this is a good learning curve for me, just let me or Garrett know that, so that way we don't spend our time trying to grade your exam if you know that that's not something you want to, be graded on. Not that it's bad if you fail, it's not anything bad, but just we have to download all the assignments. We have to or download your stuff, npm install, run it, do a bunch of stuff, and then for it to not work it takes about 5 to 10 minutes per exam for me to grade. There's not that many of you, so it's not that big of a deal. But when there was 40 to 50, it was a challenge. Took a village. Okay. All of this I am going to put onto GitHub now. One thing just to remember though, so let me get add. Now let me get push. The one thing to remember though, this is in day 3 of week 5. So make sure that if you are looking at this, let's go to GitHub Professed. I might have 2-factor authentication. Oh, yuck. I'm gonna stop recording and I'll stop sharing.